I remember the first time I realized I was alone, truly alone, and how that felt. It was a stark feeling, like standing in a vast desert with no one else in sight. But interestingly, it wasn't necessarily a negative experience. It was in that moment that I began to understand the difference between solitude and loneliness. You see, solitude is a state of being alone without feeling lonely. It's a chosen state, a time to reflect, to connect with oneself, and to enjoy one's own company. It's a time for introspection and growth. On the other hand, loneliness is an unwelcome feeling of isolation, a feeling of being disconnected, of being alone in a crowd. That first experience of true aloneness was a mix of both. It was solitude because I chose to be alone. But it was also loneliness because I felt that isolation deeply. It was then that I learned the difference between being alone and feeling lonely. And it was a lesson I would never forget. There were times in my life when loneliness felt like a constant companion. For instance, when I moved to a new city for work, leaving my family and friends behind, the unfamiliarity of faces and places heightened my sense of isolation. I would often find myself wandering aimlessly in parks or sitting alone in cafes, feeling a deep sense of detachment from the world around me. On other occasions, loneliness came uninvited, even when I was surrounded by people. Like at parties where I didn't quite fit in or during conversations that felt hollow and superficial. These experiences were tough, leaving me feeling disconnected and misunderstood. But it wasn't all negative. These moments of solitude granted me time for self-reflection, for understanding my feelings and thoughts, for discovering who I truly was. They forced me to become comfortable with my own company, to appreciate my own thoughts, and to love myself. These experiences taught me that loneliness can be both a challenge and an opportunity for growth. The fear of being alone is something many of us face. It's a fear that's often rooted in our perception of solitude as something negative, something to be avoided. We might fear isolation, a sense of being cut off from the world, disconnected from the hum of life. This fear can also stem from the dread of not being understood, the worry that our thoughts, our feelings, our very essence might be lost in the vast expanse of solitude. Or perhaps it's the fear of missing out, the apprehension that life is passing us by while we're tucked away in our own solitary bubble. But here's the thing, these fears, they're often just illusions, shadows cast by our own insecurities. The fear of being alone is not about the absence of others, it's about the absence of connection with ourselves. Conquering this fear is not about never being alone, it's about understanding that being alone does not have to mean being lonely. I've found ways to cope with and overcome loneliness over the years. It's been a journey, but it's also been a learning experience. There are numerous strategies and activities that have helped me along the way. Diving into hobbies, for instance, can be a powerful tool. For me, painting became a creative outlet, a place to channel my thoughts and emotions. It was a way to express myself when words fell short. Social activities, too, played a crucial role. Joining a book club, a sports team, or even volunteering in the community can create a sense of belonging. It's about finding your tribe, people who share your interests and passions. Therapy was another key component. It provided a safe space to explore my feelings of loneliness, to understand and work through them. Mindfulness practices like meditation also helped. They taught me to be present, to focus on the here and now rather than getting lost in what-ifs and should-haves. Finding what works for you is key to overcoming loneliness. There is a certain peace that can be found in solitude. A statement that I've come to understand more deeply as I navigated the quiet corners of my existence. Solitude, unlike loneliness, is a choice. It's an opportunity to connect with ourselves on a deeper level, to listen to our thoughts, to understand our feelings, and to simply be. Finding comfort in solitude didn't happen overnight, it was a journey. It started with small steps, like carving out moments of quiet in the chaos of everyday life. A walk in the park, sitting alone with a cup of coffee, or simply observing the world around me in silence. These moments of solitude helped me grow comfortable with my own company, and gradually, I began to appreciate the tranquility it offered. So how can you embrace solitude? Start by spending time with yourself, engage in activities you love, practice mindfulness, and remember, it's okay to be alone. You might be surprised at the peace you'll find. It's in solitude that I've found some of my most profound moments of self-discovery. While solitude has its place, maintaining connections is equally important. Connections are like the bridges that we build in our lives. They link us to the outside world, to experiences that are different from our own, and to perspectives that can enrich our understanding of life. I found that these connections, whether with family, friends, or community, are a necessary balance to solitude. They remind us that we're part of a larger tapestry, a vibrant and diverse human society. There have been times in my life when I felt isolated. It was during those moments that I realized how vital my connections were. They offered comfort, understanding, and a sense of belonging. They grounded me when I felt lost in my own thoughts and feelings. Connections, in essence, are a celebration of our shared humanity. They're the threads that weave us into the fabric of life. A balanced life is one where we can enjoy both our time alone and our time with others. I'm interested in hearing about your experiences with loneliness and solitude. We've all had unique journeys, and your stories can shine a light for someone else who might be navigating the same path. How have you grappled with the fear of being alone? What strategies have helped you overcome loneliness? Perhaps there's a hobby that's become your lifeline or a mindfulness practice that's transformed your perspective. And let's not forget about the power of solitude. Have you found moments of peace in your alone time? Have you discovered a part of yourself you didn't know existed? Your experiences can inspire others to see solitude as a friend rather than a foe. Also, let's discuss the importance of connections. How have your relationships helped you strike a balance between solitude and social interaction? And if you've sought help from mental health professionals, your courage might encourage someone else to do the same. Remember, it's okay to be alone, and it's okay to seek help if you're feeling lonely. We're in this journey together.